Before I could even react, I was shoved hard. With a loud bang, I fell to the ground, my mind reeling. The curses from outside the house pierced through the thin wooden door, clear as day. "You ungrateful brat. I've fed you, clothed you, raised you all this time, and now you want to run off to college and live the good life? Dream on. Once that volunteer system closes, you'll go out and earn money to support the family. My son is taking the college entrance exam next year. If you dare to delay his future, I'll beat you to death." The sharp, incessant scolding echoed in my ears, and I felt a bit dazed as I went to look in the mirror. Though my reflection showed a face full of exhaustion, it didn't appear aged. My hair was still dark and black, not yet dried out or turned gray from the hardships of life. My abdomen was flat, and there was no life growing inside it yet. There is no surgical lamp above my head, no obstetricians around me, and no smell of disinfectant at the tip of my nose. It wasn't until this moment that I finally realized, with absolute clarity, that I had been reborn. I was reborn on the first day of filling out college applications after the release of the college entrance exam results. And right now, I have been locked in my room by my mother. In my previous life, she kept me locked up until the college application system closed, then forced me to go out and work to support the family. She boasts to everyone she meets. She cried and made a scene back then, but now she's obediently bringing money home. Isn't she? I resisted, but it only led to a severe beating. As soon as I fled this home, she reported me to the police, falsely claiming I had been abducted, and I was sent back before I could get far. She frequently hits, scolds, belittles, and humiliates me, then forcibly takes all my wages to support her most beloved son. After finally getting married, I was still her blood bag, clinging tightly to me and sucking my blood. She doesn't love me. So during my pregnancy, my mother-in-law forced me to drink nourishing soup, which caused the fetus to grow too large and made childbirth difficult. Not only did she not feel sorry for me, but she desperately stopped my husband from signing for the painless delivery. Because of the delay, I died with my unborn child. Upon learning of it, she just stiffened her neck and spoke with righteous indignation. I just wanted her to suffer, to understand the hardships of being a mother. It was her own misfortune and short life. Reflecting on my past life, I was controlled, exploited, and treated like a tool, enslaved and mistreated. Should I follow the same path as my previous life all over again? After shivering violently, I glanced at the wooden door that offered no soundproofing, grabbed a nearby stool, and smashed it hard against the door handle. Once, twice, 3 times. I lost count of how many times I struck it, my mind consumed by a single thought. I won't walk the same old path as my previous life. The door to my room is the poorest quality wooden door, with thin panels and a cheap lock. After I frantically smashed it, the door opened. My mother, Lisa, rushed out of the kitchen with a kitchen knife, looking fierce. As soon as she saw me, her expression changed. She swung her arm wide and slapped me hard. Knocking on the door had already drained most of my strength, so I couldn't withstand her slap at all. I collapsed to the ground, feeling dizzy and seeing stars, utterly defenseless against the relentless slaps. In my dazed state, my hand was pressed down heavily as my mother cursed through gritted teeth. "You wretched girl! How dare you smash the door? I'll teach you to smash it." The stinging pain on my cheeks was intense. Struggling to open my eyes, I saw my mother raising a kitchen knife high, her face contorted with rage and malice. My heart skipped a beat, then began to race wildly. Lisa had worked as a nanny for years, and her hands were strong. My right hand, pinned down by her, ached and went numb, and I couldn't pull it free no matter how hard I tried. As the kitchen knife was about to come down, my heart sank, and only one thought filled my mind. If she ruins my life again this time, then let's all be destroyed together. Enough! A man's voice impatiently cut off the mother. Can't you use your head? If you cut her hand, are you going to take care of her? Mia, who just moments ago had looked fierce enough to devour someone, instantly became as docile as a cat. She threw down the kitchen knife and mumbled an explanation. I just wanted to teach her a lesson. Look how lawless she is, today she dares to smash the door. Who knows what she might do tomorrow? Watching my father pick up his phone again, clearly unwilling to get involved, I immediately crawled over and knelt before him. Dad, please let me go to college. My teacher said my grades are good enough to get into a top university. After I graduate, I'll take the civil service exam to become a teacher. Not only is it a respectable job, but when my brother gets married and has kids, I can help take care of my little nephew and even tutor him. How convenient! To convince them, I didn't dare pause for a breath. Dad, only by attending a good university can I find a respectable job. Then, while I'm still young, I'll find a wealthy boyfriend and get married early. Not only can we get a high bride price, but I'll also have him buy a house in my brother's name. That way, I can support you in your old age and let you live a comfortable life. I spoke with such conviction that my father fell into deep thought. Instead, it was my younger brother Jack, who was playing games on the sofa, who couldn't hold back and eagerly asked, "Can you buy me a car then?" I was taken aback for a moment, then agreed without hesitation. "Buy. After I work for 2 or 3 years and save up some money, I'll get you a nice car." Jack was immediately moved and urged his silent parents. "Dad, Mom, just let Tina go to college. By the time I graduate, I'll have a house and a car. My classmates will be so envious of me." With Jack joining in, the hesitation on their father's face began to soften. However, their mother looked at me suspiciously, sizing me up from head to toe. "If you go to college and run off after graduation, what will we do? Who will take care of us in our old age? There are college graduates in our hometown village too. And their parents can't even find them now." As soon as she said this, a hint of suspicion also appeared on my father David's face. He stared straight at me while smoking, as if trying to discern whether my words were true or false. My heart sank, afraid that my plan to attend college would fall through, so I quickly said, "I can sign a guarantee, then choose a university close to home and come back to find a job after graduation." Mother was about to say something more, but father stubbed out his cigarette, his face showing a rare gentleness. "How could I not believe you? Tina, you are my daughter, sharing the same blood as Jack. Our family should be harmonious and supportive of one another." Mother, standing nearby, looked somewhat displeased. What's the use of a girl reading so many books? It would be better for her to go out and work now, earn money to support the family, and when she gets married, we can also receive a larger dowry. Mom, Jack raised his voice in displeasure. With just a high school diploma, how much money can she make working in a factory? In the future, she'll probably end up marrying some short, ugly, and poor guy. Forget about buying me a house, she likely won't even be able to afford a decent car. The father shot a fierce glare at the mother before half-heartedly trying to smooth things over. "Don't take it to heart with your mom. She didn't get much education and has a narrow perspective." After saying this, he put on a show of lecturing Jack. "Why are you still playing games? This is outrageous. Your sister treats you so well and is willing to buy you a car and a house. Not only do you not show any gratitude, but you even expect your sister to write the guarantee letter herself?" Upon hearing this, Jack didn't lose his temper as he used to after just a few words. Instead, he casually tossed his phone aside, shuffled over in his slippers to find paper and a pen, and then began writing the guarantee letter in front of everyone. After finishing, he even thoughtfully dug out an ink pad from the corner. I signed with a forced smile, pressed my fingerprint, and then filled out my college application in front of them. For once, both father and son were beaming with smiles. Mother snorted heavily and then rolled her eyes. "I'll say this up front. It's your own choice to go to college, so you'll have to earn your own tuition and living expenses. All the money in this house belongs to Jack. Don't even think about using a single cent. Also, since the college application has already been submitted, you'll start working at the factory tomorrow. You broke the door, so you'll have to pay for it." Faced with her harsh demands, I gritted my teeth and agreed to each one, then quietly changed my college application late at night. The next day, I started working at the electronics factory, beginning a daily routine of 14-hour shifts. On the first day back home, I was so tired that my eyelids were practically fighting each other. There was no food left at home, and after rummaging through the cabinets, I couldn't find any noodles either. I had no choice but to eat the steamed buns meant for tomorrow's breakfast, then collapsed into bed and fell asleep. In my groggy state, I suddenly felt a weight lift off me, and a sharp, piercing female voice exploded in my ear. "You lazy girl, don't you see what time it is? Still sleeping like a pig? Get up and go to work." My mother's scolding came at me like a torrent. Still half asleep, I fumbled for my phone and saw that it was only 4:30 a.m. The sky wasn't even light yet. Instantly, I felt both wronged and utterly overwhelmed. "Mom, I don't start work until 8. Even if I get up at 7, I won't be late. What's the point of getting up now?" Click! I had barely finished speaking when I was slapped across the face. My mother stood with her hands on her hips, her expression filled with anger. "As a housekeeper, I have to go to the market at 6 in the morning to buy fresh meat and vegetables. What gives you the right to sleep until 7? Get up and start cooking right now." Seeing my pained expression, my mother finally seemed satisfied. She looked down at me from her superior position and spoke in a lecturing tone. "Endure hardship to rise above others. I'm doing this for your own good, letting you experience the hardships of work early to better toughen you up." I glanced at the broken door, then at my mother, who was poised and ready, and had no choice but to resign myself and get up to make breakfast. Having gone hungry all night, I was already starving, but my mother snatched more than half of the wontons from my bowl and transferred them to Jack's bowl. Jack rubbed his sleepy eyes, feeling a bit resentful. "Mom, how can I finish all this?" his mother exclaimed. "Why can't you finish it? You're about to start your senior year of high school, and it's going to be tough. You need to eat more to have the energy." I glanced at the half-empty bowl of wontons and quickly took another bite. Naturally, I didn't have enough for breakfast. I went to work, but they didn't pay me a single cent. I had to walk to the factory area, where lunch and dinner were provided for free. However, we ate early in the afternoon, and after working for over 3 more hours, I had to walk back home. My stomach was already growling. The work was intense, and I often didn't have enough to eat. Combined with my already poor nutrition, within less than half a month, I felt dizzy and unsteady on my feet. Sometimes when I returned at night, I was so hungry that I couldn't find any noodles, so I had no choice but to eat the leftover food on the counter. In the summer, the weather was hot, and the food wasn't stored in the refrigerator, so it easily spoiled. I was so hungry that I didn't even bother being picky. I wolfed it down in a few bites, then hurried to wash up and go to bed. After all, my mother would wake me up a little after 4 the next morning under the guise of exercise to make breakfast for the whole family. When I returned late that night, aside from the leftovers on the kitchen counter, there was also a rare treat, a watermelon. Watermelon. I swallowed hard, picking at the leftover food in my bowl. I had long forgotten the last time I ate watermelon, so I glanced at it with longing. My mother, still in her pajamas, had entered the kitchen at some point. When she saw me, she slapped me without a word, her mouth spewing saliva as she yelled, "You wretched girl! How did I give birth to such a lazy, greedy, and senseless thing like you? Seeing how pitiful you are, I specially saved you some leftovers. And yet you're still not satisfied, you even want to eat the watermelon I prepared for my husband and son. Watch me slap your mouth until it's swollen today." As always, without bothering to distinguish right from wrong, she raised her palm, as large as a cattail leaf fan, and swung it straight at my cheek. Before long, my vision began to darken, and what was even more unbearable was the sharp pain in my stomach, with my insides churning violently. Feeling the churning in my stomach, I ignored my cursing mother, dodged around her, and rushed into the bathroom to start vomiting. Wave after wave of nausea left me with no chance to leave the bathroom. Outside, my mother began stomping her feet in fury. "You shameless little tramp. Have you been sneaking around with men outside? Jinx! At such a young age, you're already so shameless. ugly, and filthy. Who would ever want you in the future? If I can't marry you off, how am I supposed to collect the bride price? She rushed at me again, raining blows on my face and the back of my head. For a moment, I couldn't tell which part of me hurt more. All I felt was a cold sweat breaking out all over my body, my vision blurring, and my ears ringing. My mother dragged me back to my room by force, threw me to the ground, and snatched my phone away. Stay put at home recently. You can go out only when the bastard in your belly starves to death. She kept her word. The next day, she changed the locks, locking me inside the house without giving me any food. My stomach ached terribly. I curled up on the bed, my consciousness gradually fading. Will I die? But I don't want to die. Why should I be the one to die? A surge of intense hatred fueled me to stand up. The newly installed door was a security door, and with my current strength, I couldn't break it open. My legs were trembling uncontrollably. If I didn't call for help soon, I would die in this room. While I still had some strength left, I rummaged through the drawers and found a plain white t-shirt. Then, I used scissors to prick my finger and wrote SOS on the t-shirt. This is a school district apartment. As long as someone sees it, I can be saved. Holding up the white t-shirt, my vision began to blur. I don't know how much time passed before I heard the sound of a chainsaw breaking through the door. Everything was pitch black before my eyes. I couldn't see who was coming, only knew that someone was speaking in my ear. Don't be afraid. We're taking you to the hospital. To the hospital. I closed my eyes with relief. When I woke up again, everything before my eyes was pure white, and even the smell of disinfectant at the tip of my nose became unusually pleasant. I was saved. The child is so seriously ill. How could you be a mother like this? Such a grown girl, and you still keep her locked at home, not even giving her a phone. What if something happens? The uncle in police uniform looked serious. My mother was scolded, her face twisted in bitterness as she began to lament with sighs and groans. Officer, you have no idea how hard my life is. I already have high blood pressure, and I have to work from dawn to dusk to support the family. Raising a daughter is no easy task either. I thought after graduation, she could take a summer job to help out at home, but instead of working hard, she's already behaving improperly at such a young age. What else could I do but lock her up at home? She kept pouring one bucket of dirty water after another on me. I instantly burst into tears, crying with a sense of injustice and pitifulness. Uncle policeman, I work 14 hours a day, and aside from sleeping, all I do is work. Besides, I've always kept myself clean. After saying this, I turned to look at my mother again. Mom, why won't you listen to my explanation? I'm clearly not pregnant. Seeing me awake, the nurse gently came over to give me water. She had heard the whole thing, and her expression didn't look good. Officer, I need to tell you something. When this little girl was brought in, she was covered in injuries from head to toe, countless bruises, large and small, and there were blood spots on her face, clearly indicating subcutaneous bleeding. After the nurse finished speaking, the police officer's expression grew even more serious, and his tone turned icy. Ms. Lisa, Tina is still a minor. If you commit domestic violence against a minor, we can sue you for intentional injury. According to Article 234 of the criminal law, intentional injury to another person's body is punishable by imprisonment of up to 3 years, criminal detention, or public surveillance. The police officer spoke loudly and with a righteous tone. The onlookers at the hospital room door heard every word clearly and began chattering, pointing fingers at the mother. The father, who arrived late, was immediately reprimanded by the police officer and scrutinized by the crowd with strange looks. His face fell, and he gritted his teeth, cursing the mother. I just left, and you started abusing our daughter at home the moment I was gone. How could I have married such a venomous woman? The police officer stood like a tower, firmly planted in front of the hospital bed. The father unleashed a torrent of scolding at the mother. Are you out of your mind? She works 14 hours a day. Where would she find the time to have a boyfriend? Can you please stop stirring up trouble for no reason? I lowered my eyes. My father always knew that my mother was deliberately finding fault and making things difficult for me, but as long as it didn't affect his interests, he chose to turn a blind eye. My mother was scolded so harshly by him that she couldn't even lift her head. "Officer, rest assured, from now on, I won't let anyone mistreat or harm my daughter," my father repeatedly assured them. After the police officer educated him, he turned to me and spoke gently to comfort me. "Little girl, don't be afraid. Rest well and recover. I'll come visit you often." Then, in front of everyone, he instructed the nurse, "Report any unusual situations to the police immediately." For a moment, the parents' faces turned pale and then flushed with anger. The father gritted his teeth, glaring at the mother with a hostile look. "You've been a nanny for so many years and have experience in serving people. During this time, after finishing your work at the employer's house, come to the hospital to take care of our daughter and cook some nourishing soup for her." The mother's eyes reddened with grievance, but before she could speak, the father shot her a fierce glare, and she reluctantly fell silent. I didn't expect my mother to come take care of me. After all, the hospital cafeteria food was bound to be light and nutritious. But the next day, she showed up at the hospital with a thermal lunchbox. I was still on N4, and in an instant, my whole body stiffened as I stared at her warily. "Just a case of acute gastroenteritis, and you're putting on such a dramatic act as if you're on death's door. You really don't have a princess's life, but you've got all the princess's ailments," she grumbled as she lifted the lid of the thermal container, and a pungent, spicy aroma wafted into her nostrils. I stared at the braised pork trotters, glistening with oil and coated in fiery chili peppers, and frowned, instinctively leaning back. "The doctor said I need to avoid spicy food, so I won't be having the pork trotters." "Not eating?" My mother's expression turned fierce. "I went through all this trouble to make it. You dare not eat it? Just try me." After saying that, she pressed me down, grabbed a piece of fatty meat, and stuffed it into my mouth. In an instant, the fatty meat slid down my esophagus into my stomach. I ate too quickly, choking and sneezing several times. My throat and stomach burned fiercely, and the pain brought tears to my eyes. It was noon, and there were already few nurses on duty. My mother held me down and forced several pieces of fatty meat into my mouth. The pain made me break out in a cold sweat all over. My face was covered in tears, and I had no strength to call for help. "What are you doing?" A sharp shout rang out. My mother glanced toward the door and turned pale with fright. "You? How did you get here so quickly?" The police officer was so angry that his face turned dark. He immediately called the father and gave both of them a stern scolding. At that moment, the other patients who had finished their lunch began to return. After hearing the whole story, they raised their voices in righteous indignation. "What a heartless couple! It's so pitiful for the daughter, beaten by her parents until she had to be hospitalized, and now forced to eat spicy pig's trotters." Exactly. With such wicked hearts, why hasn't heaven struck them both down with a bolt of lightning? Some even went so far as to chase after the police, asking if they could send this heartless couple to prison. The police officer issued a final warning. Having lost face, the father's face flushed red. After seeing the police off, he turned around and slapped the mother. "If you dare to act shamelessly again, don't blame me for being impolite." After warning my mother, my father forced an unnatural smile to comfort me. "Tina, your mother won't make this mistake again. Look, we're a family. If you have any grievances, we can talk about them behind closed doors. Don't call the police at the drop of a hat and make a spectacle of ourselves." With my father's warning, my mother became much more subdued. She didn't try to stir up trouble anymore, and I had a peaceful time, eating well and sleeping soundly, so I actually gained a lot of weight. When I was discharged from the hospital, the nurse sister pulled me aside and gave me her phone number. "Tina, if you need anything, just give me a call." Seeing the nurse sister's earnest expression, my eyes instantly welled up with tears. This miserable life, after all, hasn't left people utterly hopeless. I was somewhat reluctant to leave, It wasn't until I walked out of the hospital that I belatedly realized how unusually quiet my mother had been today. I glanced at her and saw that her eyes were red, with dark circles underneath. She looked terribly haggard. I was deeply puzzled. Until late at night when I got up to use the bathroom, I saw my mother sitting on the floor, her eyes red, holding a phone that clearly wasn't hers, looking utterly lost. It suddenly dawned on me. It seemed that around this time in my previous life, the family started to fall into chaos. After recalling the reason, I instantly had an idea and then took the initiative to approach her. "Mom, what's wrong?" As soon as I asked, my mother's tears fell, and she began to cry about her hardships. "I married your father when I was 19, gave him children, worked hard to help ease his burden. I never asked for gold or silver, just for him to treat me well. But why did he have to betray me?" She hugged her knees, perhaps afraid of waking my father and Jack, and began to sob softly, her voice low and muffled. I picked up the phone and began scrolling through the chat box labeled wife. Clearly, the woman labeled wife was not my mother. In the chat history, my father was no longer silent. He would care about that woman's health, buy her flowers and cosmetics, and transfer money to her. These were all things my mother never received. He also complained about his mother to that woman. "Not being able to meet you earlier is the biggest regret of my life. That woman is old and ugly, with not a shred of femininity about her. She snores like a sow when she sleeps, and kissing her would give me nightmares for half a year. I must have been out of my mind to marry such a jinx. She's as stupid as a pig. It's bad enough that she's always mean and difficult to Tina at home, but she even tried to play tricks at the hospital, and it just so happened that the police came back for a follow-up and caught her. In front of so many people, I was scolded like a grandson. Because of her, I've lost all face." In the chat history, the father's disdain for the mother was practically spilling off the screen. My eyes darted around as I began to console my heartbroken mother. "Mom, Dad is just under too much pressure and wanted someone to talk to. It must be that vixen who took advantage of the situation to seduce him. You can't let her off easily, or what will we do if Dad abandons us?" Click! I had barely finished speaking when my mother, her eyes red, slapped me across the face. She gritted her teeth and said angrily, "You little bitch. My husband will only abandon you." My cheek was burning and stinging. I forced a smile, suppressing the urge to call her crazy, and began quietly discussing with my mother the arrangements for catching them in the act. "Mom, Dad cares most about his reputation. He thinks you made him lose face, so he went to get close to that vixen and confide in her. But what if that vixen also makes him lose face? Wouldn't he then return to the family and settle down to be your good husband?" My mother nodded angrily, deeply convinced. I went to work at the factory as usual, until one day at noon, just after getting off work, my mother stormed into the electronics factory and, without a word, dragged me outside. She walked quickly and urgently, cursing under her breath. That damn vixen, taking every chance to seduce my husband. "Just wait. I'll skin her alive today. Tina, once we rush into the hotel later, I'll take the photos, and you go hold down that vixen. I'm going to scratch her face up today, so she can never seduce another man again." Just like that, she hastily assigned me the task, led me into the hotel, opened the door, and started snapping photos of the two naked bodies inside. The father, having come to his senses, covered himself and the woman with a blanket and angrily cursed. "Crazy woman, can't you just calm down a bit?" Upon hearing this, the mother was on the verge of breaking down, and she screamed hysterically, "No! Why should I do nothing when my husband is being seduced by a cheap woman?" After shouting, she rushed over, yanked the blanket away, and began slapping and pulling the hair of the naked woman on the bed. The woman let out a piercing scream. Her father, wrapped in a bathrobe, grabbed her mother's hand and yanked it back hard, then raised his hand and slapped her. Her mother was stunned by the blow, but father was clearly enraged, and he began to punch and kick. "You can bully and beat Tina at home all you want, but who gave you the nerve to lay a hand on my woman? I've given you too much face. A man's strength is far greater than a woman's. Mother went from cursing the homewrecker to breaking down and begging for mercy. But father didn't stop until he was too tired to continue. Then he went to comfort the woman on the bed, helped her get dressed, and swaggered out. Mother fell to the ground, beaten black and blue by father, with a trace of blood still hanging at the corner of her mouth. Watching the two of them walk away together, she broke down and screamed, "I won't let you off easily." I had been hiding far away in the corner, and only after father and that woman had completely left did I go to help mother up. "Mom, what should I do?" My tone was filled with worry. Dad seems to have really fallen for that vixen. Mother was so angry that the flesh on her face trembled. "Pa, they think they can just leave me behind and be together? No way." True to her word, as soon as she got home, Mother began frantically sharing the photos she had taken that day. First, it was the neighborhood group, then the citywide group, and finally, short video platforms. She not only shared the photos but also uploaded videos of herself crying and complaining on her self-media platform. The whole city was in an uproar. The effect was extremely significant. Her father returned that very day. Before my mother could even feel a moment of joy, my father pinned her down and began beating her mercilessly. One punch after another, each blow delivered with brutal force. At first, my mother still had the strength to dodge, but in the end, she could only clutch her chest in pain. "Husband, I know I was wrong. Please stop hitting me. My chest hurts so badly." My father paid no attention, and after the violent beating, he finally vented his anger for the time being. He saw his mother's face turn pale as she clutched her chest and cried out in pain, but he only snorted disdainfully. "You're thick-skinned and tough. What's with the act of being delicate? How disgusting." After his father finished his cold, mocking words, he turned and left without looking back. Whether from anger or genuine chest pain, his mother's face turned ashen, and her heart-wrenching cries grew fainter. I quietly hid in the corner until Jack returned with a basketball, and then we hurriedly took my mother to the hospital. It was only after arriving at the hospital that I learned that high blood pressure, when triggered by stress, can lead to a heart attack, and in severe cases, it can be fatal. Can it really be fatal? The doctor advised me, "Your mother's condition requires her to avoid stress." This time, we acted in time, so it's not a major issue, but she will need proper care and recovery from now on. Mother was hospitalized, and father moved out directly to live with his mistress. Jack, accustomed to a life of having everything handed to him, naturally couldn't be expected to take care of mother. Considering that the obstacles hadn't been completely resolved, I had no choice but to bring meals to mother every day. After a few days of doing this, a roommate in the same ward said to mother with a look of envy, "It's really better to have a daughter, a warm and caring little treasure. Look at you. As soon as you were hospitalized, your daughter has been busy working every day, yet she still finds time to bring you meals. Unlike my son, I've been in the hospital for so long, and I have no idea what he's busy with. He hasn't even shown his face once." Upon hearing this, my mother immediately shot me a fierce glare, curling her lips in disdain. "What's so good about a girl? Sooner or later, she'll be like water splashed out of a bucket. Look at her, she's ugly, with dark skin, and that mouth of hers, just like a pig's snout. Even if she were offered for free, no one might want her. She doesn't look like me, nor does she resemble her father. If she weren't my own child, I'd suspect she was some wild bastard swapped at birth. Do you remember my son? The boy who brought me to the hospital that day, tall, handsome, smart, and capable. Once he gets into university, gets married, and has children, I'll feel like my life's work is complete. I wonder what kind of girl would be worthy of my son." Unlike the contempt and disdain she showed when talking about me, her face lit up with a smile when she mentioned Jack. As proud as a rooster that had just won a fight, mother lavished praise on Jack. The patient in the next bed, who had initially been envious, now furrowed her brow. She forced a smile, tugged at the corner of her mouth, and shifted slightly to put more distance between herself and my mother. When she looked at me again, There was a hint of sympathy in her eyes. In my mother's eyes. Even though her son had only shown up once when she was admitted to the hospital, he was still her filial and devoted son. And I, a despised little girl, was naturally expected to serve her like a beast of burden. As a girl, the greatest malice I have endured in this world actually came from my own mother. How ironic. Perhaps because I had endured too much malice and torment from my mother, hearing her say such things now didn't cause me the slightest bit of sadness. I couldn't even be bothered to get angry anymore, it simply wasn't worth it. After delivering lunch, I walked to work. In the scorching July noon, the sun's intensity could make everything wilt. Unless absolutely necessary, no one would want to go out in such extreme weather. Yet, I saw Jack under a tree in the park near my home. He was holding a tall, slender boy in his arms, kissing him passionately. Yes, a boy. I was so shocked that I stood there dumbfounded, watching the two boys kissing, forgetting to leave. Perhaps my gaze was too direct. They noticed me. I don't know what Jack said, but the two of them walked toward me hand in hand, the boy Jack liked. I curiously looked him up and down, with just one glance. I couldn't help but frown. The boy had dyed yellow hair and large tattoos on his arms. While dyeing hair and getting tattoos are personal freedoms, what was most off-putting was his roguish gaze, which made him look like a complete thug. As the two of them approached, Jack seemed a bit uneasy and, for the first time ever, softened his tone. "Sis, don't tell Mom about me having a boyfriend." I agreed immediately, my face full of encouragement. "Jack, whether it's a boyfriend or a girlfriend, as long as you like them, it's fine. Don't worry. I won't tell our mom." Jack looked completely stunned. "Why?" Hearing this, I patted his shoulder and said generously, "I'm your sister. Of course I want the best for you." After the truth was laid bare, with our parents not at home, Jack began to date openly and boldly. Several times, on my way back from the hospital, passing by the park near our neighborhood, I saw them kissing passionately under a tree. What else could I do as an older sister? Of course, I had to support her. So I didn't say a single word to my mother, who loves her children as much as her own life. Father never came back, and even sent Mother a message about divorce. That day, my mother was hitting and smashing things in the hospital room, acting like a madwoman. When she saw me, it was as if she had found a punching bag, and she lunged straight at me. "You wretched girl, it's all because of your terrible idea. If you hadn't stirred me up to catch your father cheating, would he have divorced me?" Her eyes were red with anger, as if she wanted to devour someone. I dodged her slap and calmly tried to soothe her. Maybe Dad was just too angry to act that way. "Once he cools down, he'll come back," Mother grumbled as she lay back on the hospital bed. "Warning, it better be that way. If your dad really tries to divorce me, I'll definitely skin you alive." Perhaps heaven heard her sincere plea, as Father never brought up divorce with her again. That day, my father made the local news in an extremely indecent manner. He drove into the underground parking lot and had an affair with his mistress in the car. Because the air conditioning was on, the engine was left running, and the windows were closed. The carbon monoxide concentration in the car became too high. When they were discovered, both were naked and had already lost their lives. Upon learning the news, my mother was utterly devastated. Shortly after being discharged from the hospital, she was readmitted. The doctor looked serious and said she could no longer withstand any more shocks. My father passed away, and he ended up as a pair of illicit lovebirds with his mistress, dying on the same day, in the same month, and in the same year. My mother was devastated and consumed by jealousy, but the person she hated was already dead, so she blamed all the mistakes on me. After waking up in the hospital, she started punching and kicking me as soon as she saw me, crying and screaming, "It's all your fault. If you hadn't stirred things up, I wouldn't have gone to catch him cheating. He would still come home, and even if he was having an affair with that vixen, he would have just gone to a hotel instead of hiding in the car. Why wasn't it you who died?" My father's death pushed her hatred for me to its peak. When summer break ended, she forcibly took away my 2 months. salary and refused to give me tuition or living expenses, leaving me with no choice but to take out a loan. After applying for a student loan, I immediately started looking for part-time jobs as soon as I entered college, working hard to support myself. Fortunately, I had secretly changed my college preference to a school far from home, which gave me a sense of stability. Soon, it was the college entrance exam season a year later. On June 6th, Jack sent me a strange message. "Sis, I'm about to become an adult and will be pursuing my own happiness and future. Please take good care of Mom." I quickly sent a message to follow up. "Aren't you taking the college entrance exam tomorrow? Why are you chasing happiness and the future at a time like this?" Jack replied to the message quickly. "Going to college isn't the only path. Many college graduates can't find jobs and end up delivering food or working in sales, jobs that aren't as respectable as they imagined. Instead of that, it's better to find a way out early." Is there a necessary connection between how much money you make and your level of education? Many people with bachelor's or master's degrees end up working for those who only have an elementary school education. Besides, even if I fail, it's not a big deal. I still have you, right? By then, I'll have a car and a house, which would make me a successful person. Sis, you have to keep this a secret for me. Don't tell Mom that I didn't take the college entrance exam. Reading his message, I was so angry I almost laughed. He really never misses a chance to leech off me. I waited at school until June 8th, then took leave and went back home. As soon as I got home, I asked my mother, "Has Jack come back? Are you out of your mind?" My mother said with a look of disdain, "My son is in the middle of his college entrance exams. To focus on the exams, he's been staying at a hotel with his classmates these past few days. He's definitely going to get into a top university." When it came to Jack, she was as proud as ever. I deliberately spoke hesitantly. "Mom, I always feel that Jack is a bit strange. He sent me a strange message the day before yesterday, and the more I think about it, the more uneasy I feel, so I hurriedly took leave and came back." As I spoke, I found the chat history to show my mother. At first, she looked very impatient, but after seeing the content of the chat, she was greatly alarmed and hurriedly ran out. We searched everywhere near our home and near the school, until we passed by a movie theater, where Jack walked out holding an ice cream in one hand and holding hands with his boyfriend. The two were chatting and laughing, sharing an ice cream sweetly, taking turns with each bite. I instinctively glanced at my mother's face, which was dark and gloomy, as if brewing a storm. Before I could say a few words, she rushed out like a cannonball. My mother grabbed that boy, pinching and hitting him, screaming and cursing in anger. "You shameless vixen, making my son fall for you. I'll beat you to death. I'll beat you to death." Her son, whom she regarded as her life, had fallen in love with a man, which was undoubtedly the last straw for my mother. She screamed in utter collapse, wishing she could perish together with the vixen who had seduced her son. A crowd of onlookers had gathered all around. The boy's face was covered in bloody scratches, and several clumps of his hair had been torn out, with blood trickling down his cheeks. Seeing her boyfriend beaten so badly, Jack was not pleased. She rushed over to pull her mother's hands away from the boy, but the more she defended him, the more her mother fell apart. During the argument, Jack pushed his mother hard and delivered a harsh ultimatum. "Mom, I just love him, whether you want to see it or not. It's the truth. If you can't accept it, I'll just have to consider myself an orphan." His words were extremely harsh. His mother fell to the ground, clutching her chest as she began to gasp for breath, her face gradually turning pale and then purplish. Jack was busy checking his boyfriend's wound, and it wasn't until my mother closed her eyes and fainted that we hurriedly sent her to the hospital. But it was already too late. My mother died of a myocardial infarction. After I buried her, I slapped Jack hard across the face. "I've said it before, whether you like a boyfriend or a girlfriend, I'll support you, but you shouldn't gamble with your own future, and you certainly shouldn't drive Mom to her grave. From now on, I don't have a brother like you. Go be an orphan and chase your love." After delivering those harsh words, I left the house I had lived in for over 18 years. Fortunately, Jack and I never had any sibling affection, and he never cared about me, so he had no idea where I had changed my application to. From then on, he would never be able to find me again.